I got some great news.
What?
I got some real great news.
What?
Come on, wake up. You still sleeping in your bed?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
I want to sleep.
Come on.
I want to sleep.
There's a lot of cool things that I gotta tell you about today.
Can it wait till later? I still want to sleep.
Come on.
Oh, what? What? What?
Ah. Thanks for giving me back my ball.
You're welcome.
Anywho, well, why don't you make your bed and I'll tell you why you're making your bed.
Okay.
Come on, we got a podcast to film.
This couldn't wait till later.
I know, but it needs to happen now because the camera, the guys on, they're waiting.
There, bed's made.
No, come on, you gotta put more effort into it.
Bed's made.
Okay. Good. Okay. Well, I wanted to tell you, today we're going to be talking about the Beach Boys documentary.
Oh yeah, you told me that you watched that.
Yep. Bye, ball. Yeah, I watched it. And as the channel's resident Beach Boys fan, and frankly only Beach Boys fan, I figured I would bring it upon myself to bring up the Beach Boys documentary. Because who else would?
Okay.
No, come on, don't go back to bed.
I'm not getting back to bed. I'm just hanging out because you're going to be doing most of the talking than I am.
Well, maybe you might learn something about it.
Okay.
So the Beach Boy documentary is 2024, everybody. Hi. It's been like that for a little while, actually. But anyways, before we get into that, I should do my intro. We should do our intro.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Hey guys. That was just a little skit we were doing.
Yeah, we just wanted to do something goofy
to bring back, the episode. It's been a long time. It's been like a month.
For us, yeah, it's been quite some time.
Things have been, happening, but we're back again, and you'll know who we are. But for those who don't, Allan,
Hoostan,
back with the Allan&HoostanProgram. Program. Thank you as always for tuning in. So as Hoostan was saying a few seconds ago, he's going to be taking this episode away because he's going to be talking to us, me and you guys, about a documentary that he watched on one of his favorite bands. I think it would be like in his top 3, the Beach Boys.
Yep, that is correct. So as I was saying before, it is 2024, the year of the Beach Boy, I guess. I don't know. I guess that must be how Disney Plus is looking at it, because Disney Plus just released, I believe it was on the 26th of May, a really cool Beach Boys documentary. Now you're probably saying, well, I mean, we're already looking at almost August at this, well, at the point of filming this, but we're already looking at way past that point. So why are we finally getting around to it? Well, the truth is, guys, I was busy. That was it. That's the reason why. But I finally got around to it, and I wanted to take a look at that documentary. I was on Disney Plus. I looked at a few other documentaries they had, so I finally got a chance to sit down and give my full attention to the Beach Boys documentary. So this episode, or this podcast, is going to be fully dedicated to my thoughts on it. There's going to be spoilers, so if you haven't seen this yet and you don't want to hear about this, click off right now, you ass. Okay, anyways, sorry about that. I lose my temper when people do things like that. Anyways, today we're going to be doing the spoilers. I'm going to tell you about what I liked, what I didn't like, and then he'll be here, and we'll find some reason for him to be here. Maybe he'll be like the clown, the comic guy. He'll like throw a pie in my face or some shit. I don't know.
But even just for me to listen, because I'm not a big Beach Boys fan like him. I know who they are and their legacy. I do like a few songs, so I'm all ears. I'm into learning new things, so
sweet.
Let me get comfy cozy. So take it away.
Well, without further ado, so the Beach Boys documentary was released on Disney Plus, like I said, in around May. Finally got around to it. It was basically tells the stories about the Beach Boys. Now, again, I am a big Beach Boys fan, but I still consider myself a casual fan in all reality. I don't really know that much about them. I don't know a lot of the names very well either. But I listen to a lot of their songs, so I like to consider myself a fan. To my best knowledge, I was able to learn them a lot better. You have Brian Wilson, you have Carl.
Dennis.
You have Dennis, yes. I know I think it's 4 brothers and a cousin and a friend. So correct me if I'm wrong with that. Uh, so yeah, it was just interesting hearing about them. Now I've kind of done my own deep dive on the Beach Boys a while back, which is kind of crazy to believe that because I don't even really know their names. But I know it's weird that the names never seem to stick, but the story of the Beach Boys I do remember. I do know that Murray, which is the father, um, he was an abusive guy, which they did talk about in the documentary. But I remember that there was a story as to he had like a fake eye, and he would kind of take his eye out of his eye, like his eye socket. I read a story like that once, and so I could be wrong. Maybe I'm thinking of someone else, but I'm almost certain that that was with the Beach Boys. I didn't see them mention it, so I don't know if it was just too graphic to put onto Disney Plus. Of course, you don't want to cross-stream Bluey and the Muppets and then talk about Murray with his eye out. You know, that's definitely not something you really want to see on Disney Plus. But anywho, I really liked the documentary altogether. It was nice, a really nice excuse to just, as a Beach Boys fan, listen to the Beach Boys songs. And also, of course, with any deep dive of any band, you're sure to kind of walk away with some new songs. I mean, we're no stranger to that over here. I mean, there's been some artists we've went over that were like, hey, you know, I like that song. So I picked up a few different songs. I've grown more appreciative of certain songs. Like they have a song called Sloop John B, which was a song about going out to sea. And it was kind of taken during a time when Brian was at a low point. And I really liked, I really liked the way that they explained it, you know, because that song was good for me. When I heard it the first time around, not in the documentary, of course, but you know, actually having some context behind these songs is, you know, it makes you really appreciate those songs a lot more. And you know, they also went over some other songs like, you know, the classics. You got Little Deuce Coupe, you got Surfing USA, Surfing Safari, Surfing, a lot of surfing. It went into actually the struggles of the band and how the band, they're known as a surf rock band, but they never classified themselves as a surf rock band. It's kind of like one of those things where certain artists become well known for certain things, and the band themselves would rather be known for something else and not be attached to that. But the Beach Boys is a classic case of getting so good at a specific genre that you can't even move away from that. In the documentary, they went as far as to even try and change their name. AJ, do you believe that? Do you believe that? They tried changing their name.
Like the name of the group?
Yep. To Beach. To get better with the times. This is during this late 70s. Because they had to try and stand out among this ever-growing landscape of artists. So it was just kind of crazy to see like there's more to the band than what we saw. Of course, now we know them as the surf rock legends, but there was a time where they really wanted to push the envelope as to what they could be. Very much, it kind of reminds me a lot of Queen. Like, you know, Queen is not a set genre. We tend to classify Queen as rock because a lot of their stuff is rock, but a lot of their stuff is kind of all over the place. It's not just like, I'm not explaining it. A lot of their stuff is heavy. Like, you know, We Will Rock You, I kind of see as like more arena rock. You know, it's a little bit more heavier. But they actually have a lot of songs where, like, let me see. Love of My Life, for instance, by Queen. That's one of those songs that is just really great with instrumentation. Of course, those songs are overshadowed by We Will Rock You and things like that. Same thing with the Beach Boys. Surfing USA is, I love that song. That's my favorite Beach Boys song. I know you like Little Deuce Coupe. These songs are overshadowed, or these songs are overshadow songs like, you know, I don't know how to explain. God Only Knows. Like that's another song that they have. Songs like that, songs that are more experimental. We do, however, know of one popular song that is from this experimentation era, and that is Good Vibrations.
I was just gonna say, did they ever play any songs in the documentary from Pet Sounds?
They did. Yeah, actually, they went hugely over Pet Sounds because Pet Sounds, as we know it, and as the Beach Boy
Their
fans,
masterpiece.
it is a masterpiece, and it was, it was definitely the biggest moment in their experimental life. They did another one which was called 100 Big Ones, or I think it was either Big Ones or 100 Big Ones. It looks like it says 100 Big Ones. I think it's called Big Ones, to my best knowledge. And that album is supposedly their most controversial album to date. Brian Wilson tried to go more fully into experimental territory there. He was experimenting with LSD and all sorts of like drugs like that. So his songwriting skills increased. However, his songwriting skills, as the bandmates put it, it's like he was writing from another planet. And so the general audience didn't like it. It wasn't a commercial success, and it was by many considered a failure. And I do actually want to take a look at that. So maybe one of our Allan and Hoostan Who's next time around, maybe it's my turn. I want to go take a look at that because I want to see what all the controversy is about. But yeah, so they talked about a lot of the controversial directions they went, and yeah, one thing I think was kind of a negative is why was there no backstory on Kokomo? I told him about this. They did not talk about Kokomo. Now, Kokomo, again, to my best knowledge, no expert with this, but in the 80s, you had Brian Wilson, who was in a psychiatric hospital. He was nowhere to really be found in the group. You could say that he was kind of ousted from the group per se. It seemed like, but he wrote Kokomo, and I feel like there was a big disconnect between the band and him there. Now they showcased that in with other songs, but it would have been nice to kind of showcase the how Kokomo came to be, especially considering that's a success of a song that everybody knows about. I guess maybe the thought process was they thought that maybe the general audience already knows the history of Kokomo and how it came to be. Maybe that was a hot button issue back then in 1980 when the song came out. Maybe that's just common knowledge. But as a documentary coming out in this day and age, I would have liked to see if they taught us a little bit more about the history of what happened during when Kokomo came out. They had another documentary that came out, I believe, in the I think in the 90s, and maybe that one went over it. But I heard that this documentary plays a lot into that documentary. So, I'm kind of curious as to why they left that out. I'd like to find it out. I'm not too sure why, but they did play Kokomo at the end. It was kind of crazy though. I was kind of expecting them to play Kokomo, with like the stuff that was in the 80s. But they kind of skipped over that decade. They also kind of skipped over how they ended up doing a lot of solo work. I get that isn't really Beach Boys related. It's more of just their own solo work. They went over a little bit of what Carl was doing throughout the 70s, how he was kind of doing some solo work and doing his own stuff. But they never went anything with Brian, and I'm kind of curious as to why they didn't do that. Because Brian, being the frontman, he kind of, I don't know how to explain it. He kind of had his own story going, and we did a deep dive on the Beach Boys a little while back, and we did a deep dive on Brian's solo career, and I liked Brian's solo career, but I guess it wasn't something the general audience maybe wouldn't have liked. So I'm not too sure with those two issues. The issue with Kokomo, and I'm not too sure why they didn't really do a deep dive on Brian Wilson at the very least, figuring he is the front man of the band, it seems. But besides that, it was just great altogether. A lot of great songs they played throughout, besides, like I said, Kokomo being the last one. It's a little nitpick of mine. Altogether, all in all, it was a great documentary. It was very informative, and I kind of wish I maybe remembered a little more from it because I did view it a little while back. but I did want to share my thoughts on it. That I did watch it. I did enjoy it. I did have certain things that still stand out to me as like they were kind of issues, but maybe I'll go take a look at the other Beach Boys documentary and see if maybe that one already went over those things, and maybe it just would be a non-issue at that point. But as it stands right now, let me know what you guys think about that. What do you think about the documentary based on what I told you?
Very informative. Well spoken.
Thank
And
you.
You're welcome. Well, good information from your interpretation. It seems like a very, very interesting documentary, and I remember I saw the trailer for it. A lot of different artists, like Ryan Tedder from One Republic, who
Yep.
is not only a like the lead guy in the band, but he's also a successful solo artist in the pop genre. Talks about how in the trailer, I remember he said that their music takes you someplace.
Yep.
And many different artists talk about that. So it does seem like an interesting documentary. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. I'm glad that you got a lot of good info off of it.
Yep. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. That was a good point you brought up with all the other artists coming in. It was kind of cool to see some familiar faces. It's always cool with these rock documentaries to see the people you listen to talk about people that you also listen to. It's kind of just really cool. But yeah, no, I had a lot of fun with the documentary, and nonetheless, it was cool to kind of see the Beach Boys get brought out back into the spotlight once again. They definitely have a crazy story, like most bands tend to, and I'm glad that they were able to share that. So yeah, I can't wait to see what else. Hopefully, we get a Beach Boys biopic. I mean, we're kind of heading towards that route. So I mean, Queen did it, right? And Elton John did it. Beach Boys? I don't know. That'd be kind of cool though.
Would be cool.
But yeah, that's all I had to add on the topic. Anything you want to add?
No, just like from what you said, it was good to hear, someone who is like an avid Beach Boys fan. You're welcome. Give their thoughts. Again, I'm not a big Beach Boys fan, but hearing about a lot of the facts, you got me interested. Like I did not know. Like I kind of like he did tell me about how Brian Wilson at one point went off the edge, I guess, and went to a psychiatric hospital. But all the other stuff, I know there's some other things that I know they weren't going to mention in the documentary. I don't know if you know about it, where supposedly Brian Wilson was friendly with Charles Manson.
They actually went into that.
Oh, so they did.
They did go into that. They did a deep dive onto like how he was an aspiring musician, and supposedly there was someone else that would have originally gotten killed during that murder. So that was kind of interesting. It was a record producer, and he wasn't home at that time, so he like narrowly missed getting murdered essentially. And it was kind of crazy to think that he was going after a record producer that didn't like his music, because apparently he was creating music. He brought it to a record producer, and the record producer didn't like it, and then he tried to kill the record producer. And supposedly, if I remember this correctly, because the record producer wasn't there, he killed the person that was there instead, and that was how that works. So, yeah, crazy stuff.
Crazy stuff.
When I tell people that fact, they don't believe it's the same guy. And even in the documentary, they had to kind of, make that a clear point, because it's like you never really would think that they have any connection, but it's one of those crazy instances. It is a small world, so yeah, it was a great documentary. So we'll see what else is out there. There's a Beach Boys one, and there's a Beatles one. So I'm gonna go take a look at the Beatles one. It's called the Beatles Get Back. So I'm not a huge Beatles fan, but I got to take a look at it as a rock fan. So.
There you go. As a music fan, you gotta.
So anywho, we have to get back to a very special thing you'll see out next month. So we can't tell you what it is. But anywho,
I'm Allan.
and I'm Hoostan.
We'll see you guys in the next one.
And by the way, everybody, I wanted to tell you, I love Brian Wilson.